Good afternoon. We are back for another full out chat. I am your host, Steve Solberg, and we are going to have a great one for you today. Yes, we have Tony Nash who's about to join us. Tony Nash, Indiana cheerleading, U.S. national team, guru, legend, winner, whatever you want to label him. He is an unbelievable resource, an unbelievable person, a great coach, a legend in our industry. We're very honored and very excited to have him here today. We're about to have Tony join us. But as every coach says, first of all, we need music to go full out. So let's do it one more time and let's go full out.
Are you ready?
Full out chats. Do you know what time it is?
F-U-L-L-O-U-T. We got control, we got the right, we got the vision, you lose the sight. We will never stop. What? We got the drop, yeah.
What time is it? Full out. We're live in 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, that was the music, which means it's time to go full out real quick. A special thank you to cheeranddancemusic.com for the intro music. Again, cheeranddancemusic.com created that mix. They make some great music over there. So make sure if you have any music needs to go over to cheeranddancemusic.com. All right, it is time to find Tony here. All right, nope, wrong one. There we go. Tony!
Hey Steve, how are you?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing well, my friend.
Good, man. Well, first of all, thank you again for doing this. Really appreciate it. I know that you have a lot of great insight in the industry, but the thing is, like, you have a really great story. I've heard some of it, and I'm excited to learn some more things about you. But yeah, just wanted to give you this awesome, hopefully, this platform to talk about your past, talk about how you got to where you are today, and I know it's a very interesting story.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, it's been an adventure.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about it all the time. How we have no idea how this whole cheerleading thing, like, literally took over our lives. I mean,
Right.
it's
That's right.
literally crazy. Yeah.
Never ever imagined, as I've heard a lot of your guests say, never imagined that this would be the life that I lead at this moment. So I'm very appreciative and very grateful, but it was definitely not the plan. So
Exactly. So, I mean, talk about the plan. Kind of first, let's just start from the beginning. Like, where did you grow up? Kind of like what sports did you play, and kind of then we'll go into, like, yeah, how you got into this whole cheerleading thing.
yeah, I am actually from Wichita, Kansas, and I going through school, I was very big into football. That was really kind of my niche, and going through high school, I really concentrated on football. I wrestled for a couple seasons, and then played baseball for a couple seasons, but football was really my thing. So the intention there is, I mean, I didn't think that I was the type of person that was going to be able to go pro by any means, but I wanted to be able to find a path into college and get some scholarships and things like that. So obviously there was a big commitment level for me there, and planned on going to the University of Colorado to play football. I was offered a scholarship my senior year in high school, but unfortunately the fifth game, I think it was, into the season, had a pretty devastating injury to my arm, and had to have multiple surgeries. Was in a cast for about 9 months, and so at that point, a lot of the coaches, they lose. I mean, it's a dog eat world. They lose interest, and they move on to the next person.
Mm-hmm.
And so, that was hard for me to handle, just because I'd put so much into it. But I was very determined, and I thought that I could get back. And so graduated high school, and then I instead of going to college that first year, I took a semester off and just trying to get myself healthy again. And then I called a junior college, and I went and played at Butler, which is in Kansas, a junior college in Kansas, but a national powerhouse in the junior college ranks, and a coach there that was really close to my family. I'd given him a call and asked him, hey, I know that initially I didn't choose to go with you, but do you have any opportunity for next year? And he offered me a position. I had to change positions, but he offered me a scholarship. So I went there and got hurt again.
Wow. Oh my goodness. What position did you play?
In high school, I was a running back, which a lot of people look at me crazy like, God, and I wouldn't want to get in your way. But, you know, in high school, I was like 170. You know, I didn't get larger or more experienced, I'll call it, until probably my sophomore, junior year in college is where that really started happening. I really started hitting weights hard and enjoying the college life and yeah. So, but you know, I went and played at Butler and I hurt my knee this time, and you know, I just decided, okay, this isn't my path. This isn't what God's calling for me. So that was kind of the end of it. And my best friend at the time, he was actually going to another junior college in Kansas, was Cali County Community College, and you know, I wanted to get my degree from, you know, initially from the junior college associate's degree. So I went there, and you know, he was in the cheerleading, and I'd not really known anything about that, but you know, I went to one of their practices, and then of course the coach sees an athlete come in there, and then the coach is like, "Would you be interested in doing this?" And I was like, "Absolutely no desire whatsoever. I'm just here to pick up my boy." So, as time went on, she continued to kind of ask, and he as well. And you know, there was a lot of girls that offered social opportunity for. So you know, I was like, well, maybe I can try. I thought it was pretty cool that they're throwing people in the air, but I wanted no part of the rah-rah part of cheerleading. I was like, I can throw people. That'd be fun. So that's kind of how it all started. And, you know, funny story with that is they talked me into trying out. And the day of tryouts, I walked up to the door and I opened the door and I saw like a line of people, and I turned around and walked away. And I didn't try out. And so I got,
wow.
I for sure got scared, and I was like, I can't do this. And you know, later that summer they talked to me again, and that's where she put me on the team. So yeah, that was nerve-wracking for me.
Yeah, I've had previous guests like Jomo and Mark Coleman and stuff. And was it the same for you in terms of? It seems like with guys especially, once that cheerleading thing has its claws in you, it's there. And
Yeah.
was it the same for you? Was it kind of like that first open stunt, or that kind of that first? Do you remember kind of that moment where you're like I'm basically addicted to this thing?
I do. I was impressed, like with the partner studying and seeing some of the guys. I mean, by no means we weren't very good. They weren't good at all. And you know, my partner was, oh gosh, she was so micromanaging. I won't say her name, but if she's watching, she'll know who. But it's actually kind of ironic, her name and where I am today, because her name was America. I actually said I would not say her name, and I just said it. So Erica, watching, I'm sorry. But so anyways, we went to camp at, I think it was Southern Illinois, a UCA college camp, and Carl Olson was the head instructor there. And I just remember the first day, they didn't do a demo really like back then. They just kind of did an intro line, and you know, it was okay. And I was seeing things that I'd already seen, but Carl played a video on this like jumbotron, and I saw Pat Wedge do a full up QP, and I was like, oh wow, I'm horrible.
Yeah.
I'm horrible, but I'm gonna be that guy. He threw that guy up, and he caught her with one hand, and she spun. I was blown away. So you know, from that point, I just kind of, you know, really dove in, and I really concentrated on partner stunning.
Again, we're here with Tony Nash at Indiana University. A little bit later, we'll be doing a Q&A with Tony. So at the bottom of the screen here, you'll see a question mark that looks like a deck of cards. Just tap on that, send us some questions, and Tony will be happy to answer them later. So you're in junior college. You're just starting this cheerleading thing. You're starting to really enjoy it. So then what's the next step for you after that?
Yeah, so I ended up graduating from Cali with an associate's degree in criminal justice, and decided to pursue, obviously, my bachelor's degree. And from there, I went to Wichita State University. Robert Garner, Jay Grayson, Greg Tucker, some big influential people in the NCAA industry. talked to me a lot about coming there. I was from Wichita. I thought it was easy. I would, be familiar with my surroundings. It was a good sized university. Their sports, their basketball was good. They didn't have football. But, so I thought that would be fun for me. And Robert really sold me with that year. It was the Olympics in Atlanta, Georgia. And so, but a lot of the cheerleaders, a lot of cheerleading teams across the country got to go perform at that.
Yeah.
And so, I thought that was going to be so cool. I was like, oh yeah, I can't wait. I'm going to go to the Olympics. And so I made the team. And then probably 2 weeks before they left, he informed the freshman guys and girls that we weren't going to be traveling.
Oh.
So I got to watch it on TV, but it was really cool because I saw a lot of my friends, and when they were doing like pan shots and zoom ins, I did see a lot of people that I cheered with, and I just thought it was an awesome opportunity for them. But I was so thankful to be on that team. So that's where I went and did my undergrad at Wichita State. From
I found a picture, Tony, so don't hate me.
oh gosh,
It's a good one though. I was like, oh man, Tony's just swagging out here. So there we go.
oh yeah, the Shockers.
So how many years were you at Wichita, and what did you study at Wichita?
I was at Wichita State for 3 years, and I continued with criminal justice. That's what my degree is, and I wanted to be. That was really the plan for me. I mean, I really wanted to be in law enforcement, and I felt like kind of my calling. Specifically, I wanted to be in federal law enforcement. I wanted to be in the United States Marshal Service was what I was intending on doing. So I thought after Wichita State, I would go into the police department, which I'd had a lot of leads there and opportunity there. But I thought that was kind of the route that I was going to go. But then Debbie Warren, who was at Barton County, which is a big NCAA junior college team, and I don't remember how the conversation started, but she talked to me about potentially coming there to coach.
Oh.
And I thought, wow, they're top 3, top 5 team every single year at NCAA. What an opportunity for my first coaching job to be there. And then I, go there and I get a salary. Oh gosh.
Hey, I mean, got to show it, Tony.
Yeah, but that's okay. That's when I was skinny. I was really there. I went there and, I got the whole salary thing and benefits, and I was like, okay, I'm going to get paid to teach this. And,
yeah,
that's kind of where it went. And that's how I started.
And while you're at Wichita, are you staffing UCA at this time? Then did you start getting into staffing at that time?
Yeah, that was when I attended Wichita State. That was my first year starting with UCA staff, actually.
Okay. Yep.
I'd always attended NCA. I'd been part of NCA all the way through that point. I mean, the 4 or 5 years that I was involved in cheerleading. But I don't remember exactly how I got involved with UCA, but I think it was someone on the team was doing UCA as well. And, I thought it was a great opportunity for, a summer job and to be able to travel a little bit. I didn't think it would be, much out of the, Southwest area, but, it's provided me, opportunities beyond belief. So, yeah, that's when I started UCA staff, was when I was at Wichita State.
So then just kind of out of really nowhere, you get offered a full-time head coaching position at the junior college level. And like you said, for people that don't know kind of a little bit of cheer history, Barton Community College was legit. Very good. I coached at Sun Prairie High School, and guys like Jeff and Tim Wegner went that route, and those guys ended up being literally, they're so good. Jeff went to Wichita, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he did.
Yep.
Tim went to Stephen F. Austin. Jeff came to Wichita. I actually coached both of them. So
did you really? Okay, yeah. Oh, and super good stunters, really good stunters.
Absolutely, they were. Yeah, they were awesome.
So you're at Barton, and talk about that experience. You starting at the JUCO level. Kind of talk about how many years were you there, and kind of you're taking over a program also. So kind of like what kind of difficulties did you have in terms of now being the coach? Trying to put your stamp on this program.
Yeah, it was. I was very fortunate because Debbie Warren was still the head of the program there for both cheer and dance, but she gave me a lot of flexibility to kind of learn how to be a coach. And, I felt like just being an athlete in football, you know, the way that I was coached was the way that I would coach.
Mm-hmm.
And so, it was challenging for me at the very beginning on how to be able to handle the dynamic of coaching a guy and a girl,
Mm-hmm.
and just the way that you have to be able to mend between both and treat them in order to help them be successful. So that was definitely a struggle for me at the beginning because I just wanted to coach everyone the same. This is how you do
Mm-hmm.
it. This is how you do it. And then I learned, quickly that I've got to develop some sensitivity and some compassion for everyone.
That
Not everyone can have that like that. So
stupid sensitivity.
no, I know. So, but Debbie was instrumental, I feel like, to me at the very beginning, and just giving me the opportunity to really run with a team that was good, that was
Mm-hmm.
really good. I mean, most people don't get the luxury to start out with a talented team.
Mm-hmm.
And, I had that from the beginning. So not only did it help me coaching, but I was able to work with advanced skills very early in my coaching career.
Mm-hmm. And how long were you at Wichita? I was not Wichita. Barton. Yeah.
Yeah, I was there for 3 years.
Okay.
So at that point, it was Great Bend, Kansas is a very small town, and I felt Wichita was about an hour away. I felt like I was going back there a lot, on off practice days, and I just really started missing home.
Mm-hmm.
So I made the decision. There was an opportunity that came open at Wichita State on their coaching staff, and I inquired with Jay, who had coached me. I actually had cheered with him, and then he coached me as well.
Mm-hmm.
And he invited me to come down and have that opportunity. And so I was getting ready to getting the opportunity to go back to my alma mater to be a shocker again. So
Mm-hmm.
that was a dream job for me. And Robert Garner, at the time, we had a all-star gym. It was called Extreme Athletics.
Okay.
They were oh, I couldn't believe I was actually one in the all-star world.
Mm-hmm.
But I had a lot of, and this is back in the day when you could do all the crazy tumbling. Everything was on a hard floor.
Mm-hmm.
So there was just this huge appreciation for what these kids were doing. But so yeah, I worked at an all-star gym, and coached Wichita State on the side.
For those of you joining us, I'm here with Tony Nash, Indiana University. We're talking about his coaching kind of line here. He's just finishing up at Barton Community College and accepted the coaching job at his alma mater, Wichita State. Tony will be doing a Q&A here a little bit later. So again, at the bottom of the screen, just tap on that question mark and send us any questions that you would love Tony to answer. So kind of as you said, probably, like you said, a dream job. You're taking over your alma mater, the school that you graduated from. And but now you're going into your fourth year as a head coach, first year at Wichita. Now, has the cheerleading thing completely taken you now? Like, are you like, man, I think this something I might do the rest of my life. I enjoy this coaching thing.
Not yet.
Okay.
I hadn't got to that. I still wanted to go into law enforcement.
Oh, really? Okay.
I thought that that was still just something temporary, and I wanted to just kind of get it out of my system. And I wasn't the head coach at Wichita. Jay Grayson was the head coach, but I just thought it was something just to kind of on the side. I was still enjoying it, and I still had time before I really needed to get serious about law enforcement. And I guess that's how it went down. So.
Mm-hmm. And then how long were you at Wichita then, coaching?
I was there at Wichita for 2 years.
Okay.
And I got a interesting call. I mean, I'd been on staff for, quite a few years, like 4 years or so at that time. And then I got a call from Myron Doan,
Mm-hmm.
who was coaching at Morehead State University. And, he was looking to, from the conversation that we had, I mean, obviously Myron and I were close or friends at the time for sure. But he said, I'd like to bring you up here and see if you would have any interest in working with me here at Morehead and just, just helping in an assistant type role. And, at first I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. Cause Morehead is, I mean,
yeah,
if not, I mean, arguably one of the best programs in the country, and so, I took the flight, went up there, and I think initially my reasoning for going there, because I really didn't have a lot of desire to leave Wichita, because I
Hmm.
knew that the law enforcement thing was looming and that I was getting ready to start that path. So,
While you were coaching at Wichita, were you doing anything in addition to getting you prepared for law enforcement?
um, no, I mean, I obviously had the degree. For the police department, you didn't really at the time. I'm not sure how it is now, but at the time, just basically had to be 18 years old, and the education, the post education was nice to have, but it
Hmm.
wasn't a requirement. So
Hmm.
no, there wasn't really a lot of things that I was doing.
Hmm.
I would do some things with some like ride-alongs with officers there in Wichita, and just to kind of stay in the game as far as law enforcement was concerned. But
Hmm.
no, I wasn't really working anywhere that had to do with law enforcement at the time.
So really just like you said, out of the blue, a legend, Myron Doan gives you
Yeah.
a call. I mean, at the time, Moorhead is established as a powerhouse in the cheerleading world. Absolutely. And you go to Moorhead, Kentucky to check it out. And what was your first impressions of Moorhead, Kentucky?
um, yeah. Well, it was at first when I first got there, when I flew. I mean, flew there. I flew into Lexington, so
Hmm.
I thought, yeah, okay, well, it's I really hadn't been a lot of places, so I was really naive. But I flew into Lexington. I was like, oh, I like this city. This is pretty cool. And then a couple of the guys, Josh McCurdy, who you had on
Hmm.
earlier, and Norris Domingue, picked me up from the airport, and we drove to the holler of Moorhead, Kentucky, and through the hills. And I was like, what in the world am I getting myself into now? This is not going to happen. No, there's no way. And so I think at the time, and Jay and I have had this conversation, that I think I did it more to go down there to visit with Myron. I had no intention of taking that position.
Hmm.
My intention was to see if I could leverage myself with Wichita State to get paid a little bit better.
Sure. Yeah.
So, that was definitely my attention. And I met with Myron and spent the weekend with him, and I'd already known him because I'd worked with Moorhead at college camps and things
Hmm.
like that as staff. Um, but we just had great conversation and great like philosophy talks and coaching, and who he was. Obviously, I respected him, but my philosophies lined up with him.
Hmm.
And I thought, you know what, there's nobody better to ever learn from than Myron Doan.
Hmm.
So, I remember sitting at Wendy's. He loved to go to Wendy's, and
Hmm.
he told me, it's like, you know what, I haven't really reached out to many people about this, but if you want this job, it's yours.
Hmm.
And at that moment, I was like, I've made it. I think that's the part where I turned and said, okay, I could do this as a career.
Hmm.
So, I told him, give me a day to think about it, which he did not like, by the way. Uh, yeah, Myron, when Myron asked you a question, he wanted the answer then.
Now, is this again to be kind of like coach in waiting? You're going to maybe coach under him for a year, or is this like you're taking over? Like this is the head coaching position?
No, it's going to be a kind of a coach in waiting. I was going to be
Hmm.
assistant. And that
Hmm.
is what I understood. And
Okay.
took the position, and moved down there in the summer, and I go in obviously meet the team, and just blown away with how good they were. But they weren't super receptive to me at first.
Hmm.
And Myron had to, he definitely put his stamp on it. But I think that he showed that we were aligned, and I think that it happened a little quicker. And then, of course, there were some of the guys on the team, some of the girls on the team, I'd actually worked college staff with,
Hmm.
so they were very receptive, and I think that kind of helped the cohesion,
Sure.
the chemistry for sure. But I do remember, it was my first year, that first summer there in 2004. We were getting ready to go to camp at East Ten, and Myron called me the day before, and he's like, you know what? You got this. You can take them. You take. And I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And he's like, he goes, I'm just gonna stay here, and you take it. They need to get to know you. And I'm like, this is probably not the way that this needs to go down.
Uh huh.
I'm already intimidated by the team, one,
Yeah.
but two, I had to kind of build my credibility with them. So I thought that obviously Myron was going to help me do that. And so took him to camp. We had a great camp experience. Come back, and I think 2 weeks into school, Myron says, "I'm retiring." I'm like, "You're retiring, Myron?" He says, "I'm going to retire in a couple weeks." And I'm like blown away that he's going to let me work with these teams. But obviously, I loved having him. He was super involved with us, and I miss him to this day. I mean, he's just had so much influence on me and so many, thousands of people across the country.
I had Krista on
Yeah.
last week, and she talked about kind of his demeanor and how he coached and just how he was, and it just, I mean, like you said, I mean, I know that he positively influenced thousands of people in the cheer industry, but I mean, I was telling her too also, like, when we're younger, we kind of don't see things as clearly. And what I mean by that is, like, you're taking over Moorhead from Myron Doan, which
Yeah.
to most people who kind of have some experience, maybe wouldn't even want that position because that'd be so much pressure. I mean, did you feel that pressure, or were you kind of still naive to the point of, oh, this is awesome. Give me the keys to the Ferrari. I appreciate it.
Steve, it was tremendous amount of pressure. And it wasn't just Moorhead co-ed, and it was Moorhead all girl as well. So I was going to be by myself with both teams, and so I hadn't really had a lot of background in all girl. I'd always worked with co-ed teams. I knew about it from staff, but not at the level that I know as a coach now. But it was extremely intimidating for me, and working with those teams, and just kind of developing just my niche on how to coach, and obviously I had Myron as a support system, and he would always constantly tell me some things, why he does, the how he does, all those things to help me become better at it. So, his influence, I mean, I'm a product of Myron Doan. So
Again, we're here with Tony Nash, Indiana University. He will be doing a Q&A here in about 20 minutes. So again, at the bottom of the screen, tap on that question mark and send any questions that you want to ask Tony about Indiana, about tryouts, about anything. Tony will be happy to answer them. So that's the thing that I keep telling people about. Well-deserved. You are known as the guru of all-girl cheerleading, of all-girl stunting, and everything. And I always tell people, I'm like, Tony's a pretty good co-ed coach too. I mean, like, he's pretty good at it. And I mean, because like you said, you really had no all-girl experience until you got to Moorhead. So kind of talk about how was that learning curve of, like, not only just having to learn more of how to coach all-girl, but to take over a team like Moorhead all-girl.
Well, to tell you the truth, Steve, that I feel like I excelled, and not for the reason that that it was all girl, because I was still learning, but it was my opportunity to be able to treat everyone and coach everyone the exact same. Whereas, like we talked about earlier with co-ed, kind of having the different dynamic of guys and girls, you had to be able to adjust your coaching. With all girl, I could be the same. I could be the exact same to everyone, and so I felt that was how I was coached coming from football. Everyone's the exact same, and so it was easy for me to step into that world. Obviously there was a lot of learning that I had to do outside, but in just in techniques and things. But I really tried to make in the industry, if you look at a lot of things that I've done with teams that I've coached, is they're doing things similar to co-eds, and so that was kind of how, when I started, that's kind of the niche that I used, that I would go and try to do these in a co-ed version with all girl. And so, that made it easy for me. So I was so used to co-ed, but now let's take all girl and do the same things. We may have to add a girl here or there, but we can do those same things for sure.
And so you go to Moorhead, you take over this unbelievable program, and kind of talk about that first year of taking two teams. Now you're, like you said, you're coaching two teams basically on your own. You have some help, but basically on your own. How was that first nationals experience, taking both co-ed and all-girl of Moorhead State to nationals?
Well, it's probably my most memorable moment in any of my coaching careers, because two major things happened. Myron, again, called me a couple days before, said, you're going to take the teams. I'm not going to go. You got this. You developed the routines. You've coached them through the routines. You can do this. And I'm like, okay. And at this point, I was starting to get confident in myself as a coach, and, building with Myron's support. And I got a call like at 2:00 in the morning from Melanie Berry with UCA. And she's like, hey, we just got word that your flights on American were canceled. And I was like, oh, okay. And she's like, so hang tight, keep your phone on. We'll give you a call in the morning once our travel agent gets in and can rebook. So I show up in the morning at Weatherby. It's like 6:00 in the morning. Everyone's dressed up because we always require people to dress up like business casual. And I come in sweatpants and a sweatshirt.
Okay.
They're like, whoa, that's not fair. Why are you not dressed? I'm like, all right, this is what needs to happen. Everyone needs to get in your cars, go back home, keep your phones on. I'll let you know our flights were canceled. Mind you, my alternates, I had paid for them on a different flight. They were on Delta. Their flight wasn't canceled. So I put 6 people on a bus, on a charter bus that I'd already paid for, sent them to Lexington. My alternates went down to Florida actually 2 days before us. Melanie finally got us on a flight, and we flew. And this was when D1 was both divisions were on Saturday only, and so we got a flight Saturday morning, and so we flew down there, and they were drawing for order, and they had to fly us to Tampa, and so we got to Tampa, got on the bus, drove from Tampa to Orlando. They were drawing for order. And for all girl was going first. Their division was first, and I think we drew like number 1 or 2, and which was my luck, of course. And Ryan McGovern, who is a Moorhead alumni, was coaching at Cincinnati at the time, and he drew last. And so he agreed. He's like, you know what? I'm gonna give this to Moorhead. We understand what's going on. They can go last, and we're gonna go first or second, whatever it was. And so to this day, Ryan McGovern, that was huge. And it made me appreciate even more the support of Moorhead people because we look after each other.
Yep.
And so, both teams that first day, we been on a bus early in the morning, early in the morning, get there, basically change, go compete, and both teams won. And I was just story of ages. I don't know how it all happened in like a 12-hour time span, but it was crazy.
So you literally landed, bussed, got to the field house. Let's go.
Yep.
This is your first year. It's your first year at Moorhead.
My first year. I think we had time to stop at the hotel to change, to grab our stuff, to change, and then we headed out.
Wow.
Whew.
Wow. I couldn't even imagine. And how did both teams do?
They both won.
Okay.
I was very, very blessed and very, very fortunate.
And that's your first national championship as a coach. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, it was. I'd obviously choreographed or helped teams, but yeah, that was my first true team championship.
And so while you're at Moorhead now, are you you're still staffing? Are you still working with UCA varsity?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I'm still doing things in the summer for them while we were out while school was out during the summer.
And so then obviously what a lot of people also know you for is in the summer, you are definitely working with UCA and you're doing summer camps and also helping a lot with the college demos and things like that. So when did that start up? When did you start transitioning into helping with predominantly the college staff and the demo and the curriculum?
Yeah, I really started doing some college things. I think it was my second year on staff. I was a pretty decent stunner, and so I was able. At the time, we used to have college tryouts for staff, and so you basically at the work weeks you would be you'd go out there with your partner and show whatever partner stunts they asked for or tumbling or any of those skills, and so. Yeah, then I was still, very active in staff and very active in the summer, especially with the college program, just as an instructor. At that point, I wasn't running a lot like I am now. So,
so you're at Moorhead, clearly being very successful. You're there. How many years at Moorhead are you there?
I was there from 2004 to 2010.
Okay.
10 years.
And so talk about kind of the evolution of Moorhead for you at the time? Obviously, Myron has clearly put his stamp that's still there today on it.
Mm-hmm.
However, obviously, no matter what, every coach has their kind of their own thing, their own style. What do you think was your thing that you brought to the Moorhead program?
Well, Myron was meticulous. I mean, he like attention to detail, like just the way that his thought process worked, which I feel with him giving me so much information is really kind of how my thought process works as far as how I'm viewing things. But my stamp on is I wanted to keep that tradition, that Moorhead tradition. I wanted to keep things very similar to what Myron did, and I feel like a lot of things, our philosophies were the same, so that wasn't really hard for me to do.
Mm-hmm.
But I think one of the things that made Myron respect me and even hire me at Moorhead, when I told you about sitting at Wendy's, he asked me, he was like, "What do you think of Moorhead?" And I'm like, "The town," because I don't know that answer.
Yeah.
But he goes, "The teams. What do you think of in the past of Moorhead?" And I'm like, "Well, obviously, I think that they're very talented. I think obviously they're some of the best skills people in the world. My personal opinion is I think that they're slow." And he was like, looked at me kind of strange. He was like, "What do you mean by that?" I was like, "Well, I think that they always have such great skills and they're so clean and so sharp, but I always want to see them go faster. And I want to do things faster, so they can do more things." And he was like, "You're probably one of the, if first or only people that have ever really said that to me."
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that went a long ways with him, that I was a honest person with him. And, so I feel once I started coaching there, that's something that started happening as I started upping the tempo of things, and started trying to, keep that cleanliness, but, at the same time, try to make things a little bit faster so we can get a little more in the routine.
Mm-hmm.
Just as an example, I remember my first day coaching is, again, one of your guests, Josh McCurdy, who was on the team. And I was like, "All right, everyone line up. We're going to do toss extensions. Here we go. We're going to grab them. You're going to clean on 5. You're going to grab on 7. You're going to go on 1. And I started counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And nobody did anything. Nobody cleaned. Nobody did anything. And Josh popped out from around the sun. He's like, "We don't count that fast here." And I'm like, "Well, we're going to start trying to do it that fast."
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of where I think, something that I'm known for, that just the speed part is where I really started.
I think it's funny you bring that up because, as you know, I'm really good friends with Mark, and Mark does your music.
Yeah.
And he's like, "I think Tony's counts right now are at like 162 beats per minute."
Yeah. And it's so funny because Mark, he, like, I know he dreads hearing from me during national season, because every time I'm texting him, he's like, "Oh God, we're getting ready to change something. We're going to make it faster. What are we going to do?" Or he's going to ask for another 8 count or 4 more counts or whatever. And so we joke about that all the time. But, here's the thing with my philosophy on that. And, I'm not afraid to share, my knowledge or anything like that. But, I feel like I do things faster, not to make them do things faster. When you're listening to music, upbeat music, you start to tap your feet a little bit, your fingers a little bit more. When you listen to slow music, the tendency is not to get into the music as much. So just because we go faster doesn't mean they're actually doing things faster. So for example, if someone does a skill and goes on 1 and does a body position on the next one, we're doing that same thing. We're going on 1, but doing the body position on 3. And so it helps us get a little bit more in. So I'm able to fit more into my routines. People look at me crazy all the time, including the kids I coach, but once they train and they get used to it, they understand.
Again, we're here with Tony Nash, Indiana University. Again, we'll be doing a Q&A here in a little bit. So again, feel free to send us any questions you want Tony to answer at the bottom. Just tap on that question mark and send some questions to Tony. So you are at Moorhead, and as you said, 2010 is your last year at Moorhead, and both teams win again?
Yes.
Yes.
So that was my final year there at Moorhead, and that's the point. And I moved home in the spring of 2010. That's the point where I was going to start my law enforcement career, and that's what I wanted to do.
So you feel like I've proven myself. I mean, how can it get better than Moorhead, right? I mean, that's Moorhead. Yeah,
absolutely. And so I moved back to Wichita in like, April, April of 2010, and started applying for the police department and going that route. And Julie Holrein called me, and it was maybe May or something like that. And she was like, "What are you doing right now?" I'm like, "Well, I'm living in Kansas again, and just looking at that." And
Do you know Julie very well by this time?
yeah, I knew her, but we weren't super close. But I know her through just the industry and working with them at camp, or seeing her at events or working with her at events. So she was awesome with me, and she was like, "What would you think about coming to coach at IU?" I'm like, and at this point, when I moved home, I was really kind of already missing that because I had done it for so many years.
Because what some people may not know now is at the time, Moorhead and IU competed against each other. They were in the same division for all girl.
Yeah, they were. And so, I went up and I visited with Julie, and I came up to Indiana, and I was also actually talking to Mississippi State at the time.
Okay.
So, they were trying to get me to come back, and I'm like, maybe I can put this law enforcement off for maybe 1 or 2 more years. Why not? I mean, I'm having fun doing it. And so I came up, and, Jewel and I hung out and spent a lot of time together talking IU, and here I am.
So you make the move to Bloomington. Now you did live in Bloomington at first, correct?
Yeah, for the first few years, I did live in Bloomington. It was very easy for me to be involved with the university being there.
Talk about not just the transition to IU, but the transition to the Big Ten. I mean, this is a major conference. We're talking obviously big time game day, and kind of talk about that. What was your first impressions about being in a Power 5 conference?
That's what got me hooked. I was blown away by game day. And I remember one of the coaches at the time said to me at our first football game, he's like, it's not going to be a huge crowd. We don't have real big football. Everyone here is really about basketball. And I looked at him and I said, this crowd that you have right now was probably the total attendance than what I was used to at Moorhead for my 8 years there. So they thought that was funny. And I was like, I mean, having, at the time, it was like, 40,000 whatever fans at a game. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is insane. And so that was awesome. I had a great time with it. And I hadn't even got to basketball yet. I'd never been to a basketball game. And so I didn't know, I knew IU fanatics on basketball, but, or even the state of Indiana in basketball, but I hadn't been to anything crazy like that yet.
And so you're transitioning to IU, your first year there. And it was funny. My first year at Purdue was your first year at IU. And that's kind of where we kind of met and kind of had that connection. Because like I said, I had never lived in Indiana. I didn't understand the whole rivalry thing between Purdue and IU. And we get it now, but I mean, I totally didn't get it at the time. And so you're only working with the Indiana all-girl team. So kind of talk about, again, the transition from, because I've told people there were some years at Moorhead, I'm like, I think Moorhead co-ed's the best team here. Like here. I mean, just some phenomenal co-ed teams that you had. But now you're working all-girl only. So kind of what was the thing, I guess, that you think maybe kind of made you into kind of who people know you as today? Is this, like I said, this, you run the all-girl team at IU, you coach the all-girl team for Team USA. So kind of talk about that transition of becoming more of just working with all-girl.
I think that, I mean, like I said earlier, that was really important for me that I was able to coach everyone the same. And so I really enjoyed that aspect. And then it always became a challenge. Like, I want to do things. I want to take all-girl to a level of where they're compared to co-ed teams, and so, we were, even, I would say when I was at Moorhead, we probably started towards the later years, started getting into some of that with some of the partner stunning, for sure. But I mean, I still think back today to like 2010 and doing straight up pyramids and everything. When I got, we started playing with spinning. When I got to Indiana, that's where I really started trying to push the industry and spinning type pyramids and flipping into pyramids and those types of things. But I really wanted it to have that co-ed look. And so, that was always the challenge for me. How can I make this team, be compared to these great co-ed teams?
Talk about that first year at Indiana. Now, you're coming in, taking over another team. However, I mean, you have weight behind your name. You obviously very successful at Moorhead. Talk about that first season with Indiana All Girl and that transition.
Yeah, it was great actually, and they were very accepting of me, and Julie did a really good job with, welcoming into the program, because at the time, most of their coaches have always been products of Indiana University, and so there hasn't been a lot of outside individuals that have come in and coach, and so I was very appreciative that she gave me that opportunity. Obviously, with having a reputation at that point, or a name in the industry, the team was excited. So I don't think they were ready for it, but to get me, because people look at you and they see success and they think, oh, he's going to be, fun to cheer on. It's going to be fun for him to be our coach. I was not fun. I'm sure that they could all tell you that right now. So it was good. I really appreciate it. I pushed them to a level that they probably didn't think that they were capable. So, it was a good experience for sure.
And that first year, if I'm not mistaken, you guys took second, correct?
Yeah, and that was a big moment for the team because, I remember, to this day, one of my favorite stories that I use is talking with Julie about it, is we get down to Florida that first year, that's the 2011 championship, and we compete against the school where I just came from, and then with Moorhead, and this social following started trying to pit Moorhead against Indiana and making this big pressure. And kids, they read into that social media stuff. So everyone kept trying to pit us against each other. And so I I was flat out honest with them. I'm like, you're not going to outskill Moorhead. I know 95% of that team I recruited. So I know exactly who's on that team. I know what they're going to do. So you're not going to outskill them. We just have to be smart in what we do. And so Julie, we were down there in Florida, and she was like, how do you think they're going to do? And I said, they're going to lose. And she was like, we haven't even competed. And you don't have faith in them? No, it's not that I don't have faith in them. We have to start a culture. What I gave them something that's going to be tremendously difficult for them to accomplish. And I don't envision them being able to do this routine, at a very high level and execute. And so that it turned out I think we're still dropping it. I mean, we had like four drops that year. And so, afterwards we are very traditional in what we do. We always get together after the competition with all of our team and our parents, sing the fight song. But Julie gave me the opportunity to talk to the team. And I was like, you guys dropped 4 times and took second. It's Moorhead, the best all-girl team in this country, hands down, without a doubt. You dropped 4 times and took second. Imagine if you dropped 3 or 2 or 1. What kind of conversation will we be having here? You have 364 days to figure it out. And that moment started at least in the competitive environment, started a different culture. We had teams, they went back, and that Monday went back, and we had probably about 28 or so in open gym, right after they're done. And so just they became gym rats, and they became working hard always. And so I thought that was good for them to, see success and almost be able to grab it, but not quite get there.
So that first year you guys took second, and then the next year, kind of the same thing. I remember it also, the buzz was the rematch. Moorhead and IU, Indiana's no joke, and all this stuff. And I know we've talked before, and I'm sure, there's maybe a little bit of pressure that you're facing your old team, but also you just want to do the best that they can. That's it. And you guys get over the hump, and you bring that first national championship to Indiana. Talk about now your first national championship winning with Indiana.
That was an incredible experience for me because, they had never been there before. They had never done that before, and I had experienced it. And, that was so great for me to see not only the athletes go through that experience, but the other coaches as well, and having that. And it was just, I'm very thankful that Julie gave me that opportunity and trusted me with that opportunity with the guidance of them in the competitive world. But, it was fantastic, and I was, it was probably one of my favorite championships. I don't want to say it was my most favorite because I enjoy them all for different reasons. But, it was the first time that I coached and no one had ever won before.
Yeah.
So
So you not only get over the hump and win, I mean, people have called it a dynasty, and I would agree with that. When you win 6 of 8, I would say that's Patriots-esque, I guess. In terms of winning. Kind of talk about. I know there's some people that probably are asking that question. Clearly, you're very good at implementing and or adjusting culture. I know that's the big buzzword in sports right now. Culture, almost to the point where it's annoyingly overused, I feel, but it is important. Culture. Kind of, what's your perspective on that word, culture, and kind of your perspective on how to implement the right culture?
Yeah. Well, I think culture really just kind of is there's multiple types of culture, and obviously you want a positive culture, but it's really just how you install the philosophies that work for your specific team. Because I feel like our culture changes constantly in what we do. It's never something that should always be the same. So I think that it's always specific to your team. You have to be strategic and consistent in the things that you do, but the way sometimes in order to get better you have to change. And so that's something that I really try to take to my teams, and I try to make sure that our culture stays strong because I address it to the team.
Again, we're here with Tony Nash, and as you probably know, Tony, by watching a couple of these episodes, there's a 1-hour time limit, and we're going to hit that because your story is awesome. So we'll probably end this one and restart up here in a few minutes. But before we get there, you've transitioned into the coaching role at IU, and kind of Julie talked about this earlier this week. Nobody at Indiana has a full-time position. You are not doing this as a living. You're pretty much doing it for peanuts, if that. And so now. Do you now transition into kind of the role that you are doing now with varsity?
Yes, I started working full-time for varsity at that point when I had moved to Indiana and started working with V-Rock. And
Okay.
Jerry Cooney was managing V-Rock at the time, and I just became one of their choreographers and, traveling the country and doing high school, college routines.
Talk about that. V-Rock at the time it's been around. It's not what it is today. Holy cow, it's absolutely blown up. We had Josh, as you know, before a couple weeks ago, and he talked about it. But kind of, what was your take on the growth and the evolution of V-Rock into what it is today?
Yeah, V-Rock has been like amazing, and I think that it's helped me as a coach to be able to learn different teams and different styles and different coaches and philosophies. But it's amazing what Sherry and Josh have done with that program, because you're right, it's absolutely blown up. But I think through at the time when I started, there was probably about 7 or 8 choreographers full time that did it, and now they're like 30, 35 full time people that do it. But going out and doing 10, 15, 20 routines a year just kept me very active in what I was doing. So it always kept me so engaged that I could take things and translate it into my own team and my own philosophy.
And how many years were you just predominantly full-time for V-Rock doing routines?
I think I was there for 3 or 4 years. 4 years that I was doing it full time.
And in regards to keeping up with high school and working with high school athletes versus college athletes, was that kind of difficult going into the mindset of, now, man, I'm working with high school athletes now? Or when you came in, was it kind of the same mindset for you in terms of working with your college athletes?
Yeah, it was definitely the same mindset. I was very direct in my approach to things, and when I would come in and work with teams, and do their choreography, as I would get there, I'd obviously have a plan, but I was just no nonsense. I want to get through it quickly, so we have more time to practice any types of reps or those types of things. So, I do think that it helped with how, I am as a coach, but, I think that I was able to influence a lot of high school coaches and, high school athletes for that matter.
Well, Tony, we are almost at the 1 hour limit, so let's end this part and then we'll continue. So what I just need you to do is, when this ends, I actually need you to get offline and actually close the Instagram app. Just close it all out, then reboot it, and then when we come back, we'll finish up. I do want to talk about the U.S. national teams and talk
Perfect.
about U.S. all-girl, kind of that and how that started, because you've been there since the beginning with that program. And then we'll do Q&A.
Perfect.
Awesome. All right, I'll talk to you in a couple minutes, everybody. We are coming back. So, again, second half with Tony Nash coming up here in a couple minutes. Thanks, guys. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Full Out Chats. Again, Steve Solberg here. We're going to finish up here with Tony Nash. I knew we would probably go over an hour with Tony. A great story, great background. He's accomplished, obviously, a lot in our world of cheerleading, and I knew that his story might take a little bit longer and wanted to talk to him about his transition to helping really build and create the U.S. national team, specifically also with the all-girl team, but overall just his coaching in regards to the U.S. national team and what he's done there. And I see Tony is here, so all right, there he is. Tony, you there?
Yep, I'm back.
All right, so we were talking about kind of the culture that you've now instilled at Indiana. You've been there, same as me here. So 10 years now. We just completed our 10th year. But about 10 years ago, if I'm not mistaken, was the creation of ICU in the competition and the U.S. national teams. You've been there since year one. Is that correct?
Yes.
I thought so. So kind of talk about, I guess, from what you know, like the creation of it and kind of the thought behind that. And then once the ICU competition was created, kind of your role in developing that whole entire program.
Mm-hmm. Okay. The ICU was really created for international competition and just allowing the opportunity for athletes around the world, not just the United States, to compete. That first inaugural year of the ICU, obviously with it being here in the United States, we wanted to be able to field some teams to represent the USA. So I was asked to, I was at Moorhead at the time, there in 2009, but I was asked if I would lead the all-girl team in the international competition, and coach at the time. It was called Team USA. And then Jomo Thompson, who's the head coach at the University of Kentucky, was asked to lead the co-ed team. And then we also had James Speed, who was the coach of the University of Louisville, or one of the coaches there, the head coach there. And he was kind of the floater between the two teams. Mm-hmm. So, it was just the three of us with me, Jomo, and James, and having the all-girl and co-ed team. Really, essentially, that first year, the team really was just made up of, for all-girl, in specific, was Moorhead all-girl and Louisville all-girl. Mm-hmm. Were probably the premier of the two different competition brands that were the premier teams at the time. And then the co-ed team had a little bit more variety, but it was still primarily UK and Louisville that made up those teams. It was easy. We trained in Louisville at gym time, so it was real easy to get people there. So that's kind of how it started. Mm-hmm. And it has blown up. And after that first year, I mean, it's just amazing to me just looking back and seeing all the accomplishments of the teams.
I tell people all the time, if you've never been to ICU and you're a cheerleading fan, you, in my opinion, need to go. I love college nationals. I still would say UCA college nationals for me is my favorite event. But ICU is close. I think ICU is unbelievable. The opening ceremonies and just all the countries. There's nothing more, in my opinion, more rewarding than representing your country. And kind of talk about that. Talk about representing your country and kind of the mindset as a coach in regards to representing the red, white, and blue.
Yeah, it's been a phenomenal experience, Steve. And you're right. In any way that you're allowed to represent your country in a positive, that's something that we should all be able to have the opportunity to do at some point in our life. I feel like at the very beginning, people, I don't know how serious they took it because it was cheerleading, but us being able to put on a uniform that says USA across the chest, has the American flag on it, it just started garnering so much support, not just here in the United States, but across the world. Mm-hmm. With these different countries who are getting involved. So I feel like, it's been an honor and a blessing for sure. the teams, they continue to just be amazing at what they do, and representatives and ambassadors of our country.
For me, I remember when this first started, and all of a sudden, I know you guys transitioned from, specifically all girl, from individuals trying out into stunt groups trying out.
Right.
That transition, kind of, what was the mindset behind that when you guys made that decision?
Well, initially that didn't start until 2011, a couple years in. The thought process for the coaching staff for USA was, Jomo, James, and I started the first teams, and then every year or 2 years we would switch coaches and just kind of go that. So, that next year, David McDowell came in with co-ed, Sherry Cooney came in with all girl, and we were still doing everything individual at the time. Mm-hmm. That year was based out of Atlanta, and so we were working in conjunction with Stingray All Stars, and we weren't able to get the type of turnout that we wanted for the teams. Mm-hmm. And so, after that, I was just a consultant for that year, and after that, Sherry was like constantly reaching out to all of her contacts, to HPU, to Louisville, to Moorhead, all these schools, and trying to get individuals to come and be a part of the team. So we, after, discussing that year, we just thought it would be best if we started having them try out groups. That way they would be a little bit more prepared when they came into training versus doing it individuals. Mm-hmm. And so it just stuck from that point going forward with all girl, and it's been, imperative that we remain to continue that way. Mm-hmm.
So you've been involved with the U.S. national team now since the beginning. Was it 2009 was the first year of ICU? Yep, 2009. And obviously something I find unbelievably awesome was the opportunity then to go to the actual Winter Olympics and demonstrate and be a part of that. Talk about that experience. I know Jomo, who came on a couple weeks ago, talked about it. I couldn't think of anything more cool than going to the Olympics. So kind of talk about that whole experience.
It was incredible. We selected Jomo and the University of Kentucky to represent USA Cheer as a national team. We were coming off of the UCA championships. They already had a routine in place, and it was an easy transition for them to be able to do that routine. And so, me and Leroy and Louie, went with Jomo and the team to the Olympics. And I mean, first of all, with that team in particular, that UK team, I was so impressed by them because, you would think that you're going to go down there and perform routines and you're going to have 9 mats. You're going to be in a building with stands. That's what you're going to be in. No, I mean, we were in parking lots. It was snowing. We were on 3 mats. We were on panel mats. We would have to change the routine because we weren't on mats. And those kids it didn't bother them at all. They were able to go out and just execute time and time again. But we thought it was a fantastic experience because a few years prior, we had been recognized by the IOC as an emergent sport. Mm-hmm. And so we definitely wanted to get cheerleading, in front of the right people, and we wanted to have a great representation. But being able to go to the events, we weren't allowed to go. Initially, we thought we were going to be able to be on the sideline, like we would call it here in America, cheering on the U.S. teams and things like that. But, we didn't really get to go to a lot of events. We did get to go into some venues, but just the experience being able to, do like pep rally type and performance type events throughout the Olympics was fantastic.
And this was in South Korea, and you were there for about a week, right? Lived over a week?
Yeah, just over a week.
First of all, I was born in South Korea. My mother is South Korean. I love me some Korean food. How was it? How was the culture over there for you guys in terms of like adjusting to the culture there, the food and everything?
Yeah. Well, I had one probably bad experience there, but I thought it was great. A lot of times I had no clue what I was eating. They were just giving me something. And I was, well, it looks good, so let's see where we go. I don't know what it is, but you know what? So, but yeah, it was. I mean, everyone there was just so friendly and welcoming to us and accepting, and so I just can't speak enough about how positive the experience was for all of us.
So you go to South Korea, the Olympics, perform. I was telling Jomo, I still have the video saved. One of the most impressive things I saw was those kids it's like you can see snow falling in full warm ups, like zip ups, pants, basically throw their first music full out, no extra spotters, just barely, like just legal with what they have, and smacked it. And
Yeah.
I couldn't freaking believe it. Like I was like no excuses, basically.
Yeah.
And Jomo told me that they literally didn't even get to warm up. They got to warm up like 5 hours before, and that was it, like a quick run through.
Yep.
I couldn't even imagine having my team do that.
Oh, I know. And Steve, to be honest, and that just goes to show the athleticism of, in particular UK and what Jomo has done there, is those kids on the team didn't bat an eye at it. It was just like, okay, that's fine, let's go. And it was just that oh my gosh, I can't speak highly enough about them.
I agree. No, I tell people all the time. I mean, you can have arguments about what great programs, but I mean, we can all agree that Kentucky is one of the greatest programs in our industry, without a doubt. So, I think now, let me see if it's working here.
Oh, yeah.
That's a Mark Coleman voiceover, which means it's time for Q&A. We have a Q&A here. I did take pictures of the questions from our previous broadcast, so if you did send us one, don't worry. We have those. Tony, are you ready to answer some questions?
Absolutely.
This is from my guest yesterday, Ryan Martin O'Connor. Not a question. All she says is, just wanted to say you are the best, Tony, and thanks for everything you've done for me. So that's from Ryan. So
thanks, Ryan.
There we go.
Ryan.
This is from Sean Henderson. What's your thought process about putting together a routine, or how do you really? What is your mindset? What's your choreography mind? How does your choreography brain work?
I don't know if people want to get in my brain. Sometimes people are like, "Yeah, I would like to see things how you see it," and I assure you, you don't, because I mean it's sometimes crazy up there. But I really just like to get to know my team and what their strengths are, and I always want to make sure that I'm putting things out there that are going to highlight them. If they're good at stunning, I'm going to stunt more in the routine. Or if they're good at pyramids, my pyramids will be longer. If, tumbling is not our strength, I'm going to try to get in and out of that as quick as possible. But I think that my basic philosophy is in competition, without going to a lot of detail that would take forever, is you just want to do something that's different. How can you set yourself apart from somebody else? And so, something that I envision all the time in my head is that, I want, our other team is going to be, if someone did my same exact routine or did something similar, how can I be different and memorable?
This is from Scott Birch. Scott's kind of a cheer historian. I know Scott, and I actually forgot about this. So he's a cheer historian here. Explain your first couple of years with Palomar in terms of choreography, and you did work with Palomar, if I'm not mistaken, and helped them.
No, I never choreographed for them, but I worked with, a lot of their athletes. I had a lot of their athletes that came from
yes,
to Moorhead. So then obviously good friends with their coach at the time was Jeremy. And so, I worked with them in the summer and things like that. But yeah, another, UCA like powerhouse type team that, just the things that they were always like a feeder school for Moorhead. Like you went to Palomar, when you were done with Palomar, you went on to Moorhead. And that's
which people don't know. Palomar was really good. Out of California.
Absolutely.
If I'm not mistaken, at the time, also Tim Pasalacqua, who's a UK legend, was coaching there. Man, yeah, they were really good. I didn't know that was kind of a big school for you guys to recruit at Moorhead.
Yeah, we had. I think my first year at Moorhead, first or second year there, I probably had five or six individuals from Palomar, between a couple girls and guys. Joe Arkansas, Mo Rodriguez, guys like that. Chris Schultz, who had went and done that thing out there.
I could just imagine being in SoCal and then moving to Moorhead.
It's so funny, and I don't know if Mo's watching either, but Mo is one of the largest individuals that I've ever coached, and he's but super talented, and I was so impressed that he could flip over. But I remember many a times his first year at Moorhead, in my office crying about how homesick he was for California.
Next question is from Avery Parsons. I mean, this is just, I mean, obviously everybody could argue this till they're blue in the face, but kind of what all-girl teams do you feel are having a huge influence on the industry today, college or anywhere?
I do think that there's a lot of teams in both levels, high school and college, but you know, I don't feel like there's one team that's super impactful, like is the trendsetter by any means. I feel like there's a lot of good things in the industry happening on the all girl front, with both high school and college. But obviously with colleges, your Oklahomas, your Alabamas, your Indianas, South Floridas, a lot of those all girl teams are definitely separating and become more distinguishable, within their respective divisions. But, I couldn't put my hand on, a specific school, high school or college that is like that. But, I just think that it's great. Not everyone is a co-ed cheerleader. Mm-hmm. And I think it's great that there's, opportunity for both at the high school and collegiate level for athletes, these student athletes, to have the opportunity to do everything that co-ed teams do.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's see here. We got a couple more questions. All right, here we go. From UC Alex, who or what was your inspiration to get to where you are today?
And I mentioned earlier, I think that I am who I am coaching because of Myron, and that is someone that I really feel like influenced me in my philosophy and my, mindset of the way that I want to coach my teams. He's been fantastic. I can go back with Jay Grayson at Wichita State and Robert Garner, Wichita State, who were definitely ones that motivated me to continue to strive to always get better. But there's nobody that's been more impactful on me than Myron.
I think that there would be a lot of people that would agree with you for them, definitely. We have a couple more questions here. Same from UC Alex, kind of just most important, or I guess some, for you, a couple of really important tips or coaching, coaching like advice you can give in regards to successful all-girl teams.
Okay. I think structure is probably the top of the list as far as when we're coaching all-girl, because it becomes, I don't want to say it's harder than co-ed, because I think that they both present their own challenges. But, with co-ed, you have a guy and a girl basically partner setting. With all-girl, you have 4 individuals partner setting. So it's a lot harder to get 4 people to accomplish a goal than it is 2. So I do feel like, just being able to be repetitive on, the basics of all-girl skills is what's going to make you better. Like at Indiana, I mean, everyone sees us do all these back handspring pull-ups or rewind pull-through, all these hard skills. But, I mean, the girls, for the first, I would say, 2 or 3 days of practice weekend, all they're doing is straight-ups. They do straight-up extensions till they're blue in the face. Even though I know they can come in and do backhand pull-ups and all those crazy skills, I want to make sure that they're all the exact same. I want to make sure that everyone's doing the proper technique at the beginning, because if we're good at that, we're going to be great at the other things.
Preach, retweet, everything. So I do want to give, like every coach I've talked to, I want to give you guys a platform to talk about the situation we're all in as college coaches in regards to how we're doing tryouts this year. Obviously, tryouts are very different for all of us this year. I do know at Indiana, you guys have made the announcement, as other schools have, that nothing until at least August at the very latest. Yeah. So here's your opportunity, if you don't mind. I know you have a lot of people. I actually have a couple of questions from that. What is Indiana's plans for tryouts this year, and how should people get in contact, and what should people do in terms of wanting to make the Indiana program for next year?
Yeah, absolutely. Steve, I appreciate you saying that. And with all of us going through this pandemic, it's definitely been a challenge for for all coaches, not just, Indiana or anyone in specific, but it's, we're looking at trying to do a virtual tryout, and obviously we're leaning a lot on looking at video of individuals. Obviously we don't want people to go out and start getting together to stunt or do those types of things. So you're just using previous videos. It's unprecedented what we're going through right now. And so I think it's going to be a challenge for all of us. But, right now, as things stand, we're looking at trying to do some virtually, and then just people that have attended our clinics in the past, and just knowing what they're capable of to fill our teams. And so, hopefully this blows over here soon. And, our plan is to have an additional tryout in the fall or early fall if they're students at Indiana University. But you can contact us through our Instagram or through our social media, or shoot Julie Horine an email, and she'll be able to answer all of your questions for that.
Any tips or I guess requirements specifically for your guys' video, just if people want to know what they should include in their video for you guys?
So I'm not all sure what Julie has planned for all of that. I've been busy with my other job as going through all these times, but obviously just looking through things that you can do, if it may be past tumbling clips, things like that, just kind of cleanliness of what it looks like. It's always hard to judge that because you don't know if it was the first time or their 50th time.
Exactly.
And, that's always a challenge. So I'm probably not as high on skills videos just because I don't know when or how it was done. But, just the things that you can do, if there's fight songs or material like cheers or sidelines, any of those things, this is the opportunity to make yourself stand out and perfect motion technique, be sharp, be strong. You have to be able to make yourself stand out when you're limited in what you can actually do. So, I would never take that for granted and think that, oh, I know the fight song, I can get through the fight song, but you've got to perfect it, because you showing me that you've perfected it and you're sharp, that tells me what your work ethic is. And so I can teach you the other things when you get here.
Ryan talked about that hardcore yesterday. Just, we're so limited with what we have, but you can do really good sharp motions anywhere.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And so something I also talked about with actually all of my guests so far this week, the last two, Ben and Ryan specifically, is obviously as you get older and you start transitioning in life, sometimes, life changes and all of a sudden you become a family man. And obviously coaching and how you are as a coach changes when you get married and start having kids and all that. Kind of talk about, well, first of all, I know your wife, Megan, for many years. She was my varsity rep for years here at Purdue. Talk about how has becoming a family man changed you, or you've had to adjust in terms of coaching?
Yeah, I never I don't know. I always thought I was going to be single for all my life, and then especially being in the holler of Moorhead. But I moved here to Indiana, and I met Megan, and she's been phenomenal. I mean, she's just super supportive, and she coaches at IU as well. So we have a very unique situation. I think that's a credible accolade to our relationship. But she has been my biggest supporter, and the person who's helped me get through a lot of things in not only coaching but in life. And so we have two beautiful children, a 7-year-old daughter, Sienna, and a 3-year-old terror of the skies, Jaden. So he's he's great. And so the family has definitely opened my eyes and just what life is really about. And so I'm super blessed to have a beautiful family that is everything to me.
As we talked about, don't take offense, Jaden's my favorite Nash. Sorry, bud. I mean, it is what it is, and we know why, but we'll keep that between us. And
Well, I don't know. Since that conversation that we had earlier this week, he has talked to Krista and has said some Roll Tide things in there.
So basically, he's a bandwagon jumper.
Right? I'm like, hey, you're jumping to all the schools that I compete against, or like we play sports against. ever hear you say anything about my team. He stays completely away from my team. He's always with Megan's team.
You were saying he likes to hang out with the dudes, and that's okay.
Yeah, he does. He does. So
Actually, I've got a couple more questions that popped in, so we'll just go. A couple of them are real quick. More fun, but I guess kind of what are the differences between coaching the IU team and then when you get together with the U.S. national team?
I would say the more fun would be coaching college. The U.S. national team is pressure from the get go because the teams that we compete against are 6-9 month teams or year round teams. This team is basically put together in a morning in 4 hours, and then they don't see each other until 10 days before the competition. So they train for 9 days, and so that is at the level that team is. That's extremely, extremely difficult. I wish there was a better way that we could do it, but yeah, they both have their obviously their positives, but I think that being able to really coach my team at IU is more impactful because I get to know the athletes more. With the U.S. team, I get to know them, but I mean, how much can you get to know someone in 10 days, versus a year? So, I have high respect for all the athletes with Team USA or the U.S. national team, but it's the college is something that I really enjoy.
Yeah, I had an all-girls group that made the team one year, and they still talk about how it was one of the greatest experiences of their life. I mean, so yeah. Thank you for giving that to them. I know it changed their lives. I know you're a big guy on this question, so we'll just ask it because we know speed or power, Tony.
Speed every time. It's speed.
For anybody who has never heard Tony speak, he'll ask this question. Raise your hand on speed.
Yeah. Yep. That's right.
And usually the last question that I like to ask, but somebody actually asked it here, which is great. This is from Jay Holman. What's the biggest lesson you've learned through your coaching career, or kind of what's a piece of advice that you received as a coach that sticks with you still today?
I think the biggest lesson, and it's great that you asked that, or that Jay asked that, is everything with me now is really about life lessons, and I tell my team all the time that I want you, we talk about winning, but the winning is not really what you would think. It's not about winning competition. I tell them all the time, I want you to win practice. I want you to win homework. I want you to win with your family life. I want you to win as a wife or a mother, or win it with a job, and so I always constantly strive and teach that in a practice setting or game setting or whatever we're in, because I want them to be successful in life. And this is just kind of an avenue to help them get there. There's going to be hard things. And, I want them to know and look back in 5 years, you know what? I went through something really challenging, and I was taught how to get through and how to understand how to cope or how to move on from it. So, I think that there's not really a specific thing, but I do think as a coach, you have a tremendous amount of influence to make their future brighter. And it's not about a full or a back tuck or a basket toss. It's about turning these young athletes into good people.
Tony Nash, I can't thank you enough again, man, for being here. I respect you so much as a coach and as an individual and everything that you've done for our industry. So thank you so much for taking the time and joining me today and for the kind words about the program. I hope everybody's enjoying it. But Tony Nash, again, anybody who's interested in trying out for Indiana, please contact Tony or contact the Indiana cheerleading program, because as we all know, we're starting to get through the world today and hopefully get back to normal here.
Well, Steve, I appreciate you having me, and I think that, I know I've obviously given you personally a shout out to this platform and what you're doing with the Full Out Chats, but I can't think of a better person who's been leading this, and I just appreciate all you've done and let you know that you've done a fantastic job with this. And I tune in daily, so I said today. But
yeah, well, you were the man today. I appreciate the kind words.
I won't watch myself because I can't stand to see myself on
Well, then just listen to yourself on the podcast later. So that'll work.
Yeah, there you go.
Tony, thank you, my friend. Stay safe, stay healthy. Tell Megan and the kids hi for me.
I definitely will. Thanks, Steve. I appreciate you.
All right, Tony, have a good one.
You too.
Tony Nash, Indiana, cheerleading, U.S. national team. Great man, great person, legend in our industry. Again, if you have any questions or are interested in trying out for the Indiana cheerleading team, make sure you contact Tony, contact Julie, contact somebody at IU. All right, so we have one more day of full out chats, one more day of full out chats. I'm just trying to find the graphic here so that I can show you who we have coming in on Friday. On Friday, we're going to Louisville. We have Kalen Cook tomorrow, University of Louisville, Gym Time All-Stars, and the new part owner, and coach at Cheer Athletics in St. Louis. Yes. So tomorrow, tune in. Kalen Cook will be joining me on Full Out Chats, and we're going to hear Kalen's story. It's another interesting one. His background, where he cheered at, where he's coached, and obviously the new endeavor that he's taking in life with Cheer Athletics in St. Louis. So again, tomorrow, 1 o'clock Eastern, Kalen Cook will be my guest. Again, thank you, everybody. This is our 12th episode, and I just can't thank you guys enough. The response has been great. People have been very supportive. I'm glad you're enjoying this, and that's what I want. I just wanted to give some joy to people and give something to everybody here in our cheer world, something for them to watch or listen for an hour or so, and kind of get their minds off of what we're all going through right now. So definitely social distancing, keep doing it. But as always, be healthy, stay safe. Have a great day, everybody.